Today on Legally Us, Angelina Jolie makes shocking abuse allegations against Brad Pitt. Tia Mowry files for divorce, and Tom and Gisele seem to be heading for a split. And why Kim Kardashian had to pay over $1 million to settle charges from SEC for promoting cryptocurrency. We've got that plus so much more on today's Legally Us. Hey everyone, Christina Garibaldi here, and welcome to Legally Us, joined each and every week by my friend and former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Neama Rahmani. Hi, Neama, how are you?
Hi, Christina. How's it going?
Good, good. We have so much to get to, and we have to kick it off with this bombshell allegations from Angelina Jolie. So she detailed new abuse allegations against Brad Pitt, claiming that he choked one of his 6 kids and struck another one while on a 2016 flight. She filed these documents on October 4th and alleged that he was physically and emotionally abusive toward Angelina and their kids throughout this flight. So the documents state when one of the children verbally defended Jolie, Pitt lunged at his own child and Jolie grabbed him from behind to stop him. To get Jolie off his back, he threw himself backwards into the airplane seats, injuring her back and elbow. The children rushed in and all bravely tried to protect each other. Before it was over, Pitt choked one of the children and struck another in the face. Some of the children pleaded with him to stop. They were all frightened. Many were crying. Now, a source did tell Us Weekly that Angelina continues to rehash, revise, and reimagine her description of an event that happened 6 years ago by adding completely untrue information each time she fails to get what she wants. Her story is constantly evolving. They added that she had the opportunity to share this information with law enforcement and at the custody trial. So piggybacking off that, why do you think this information is coming out right now?
So much going on this week, Christina. Wow. So this is an allegation that was raised in a counterclaim that Angelina filed in the civil case related to the chateau that they own together. Of course, Angelina wants to sell her share and Brad is trying to prevent her from doing so. So even though this is about a civil case, which is really about money, she raised these allegations to the FBI. And the reason it's a federal case was because this was one when they were on their private jet. Now, the agent thought that there was probable cause to move forward with an assault case, but the U.S. Attorney's Office, where I used to work, decided not to prosecute the case. So there's no criminal charges pending, but this case can affect the civil case, and it can also affect the family law case. Let's not forget, Angelina Jolie is trying to prevent Brad Pitt from having joint physical custody. She wants the kids. And of course, whenever there's allegations involving child abuse, these are minors, social workers may come in and there may be a dependency case. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's always a possibility that the children are removed from the home.
Right. So why wouldn't she bring this up in the custody trial, years ago? Why hold on to this information and bring it up 6 years later? I know it's because of the civil lawsuit, but it seems kind of interesting that she waited so long to bring these allegations forward. Is this because she was requesting that information from the FBI lawsuit?
Well, Christina, we don't know what happened in the family law case because let's not forget, it was a private arbitration with a judge that they hired. It wasn't public. So the parties in the family law case, Brad and Angelina, didn't want any of this to become public. Now, civil lawsuits, like criminal cases, those are public. So the reason that these are coming out now is because we all have access to the filings, but we don't know whether these allegations were raised in the family law case because, again, that was a private, confidential proceeding, not accessible to the public.
Interesting. So can law enforcement reopen a case against him because this information is now public?
Well, the statute of limitations is run. It's been more than 5 years because this allegedly happened in 2016. And normally, once prosecutors reject a case, it's uncommon for them to go back and pick it up later on. So I don't expect anything to happen to Brad Pitt as far as criminal charges are concerned. But of course, like any case, this is being used as a leverage in the civil case. The allegations are pretty serious.
They're really serious. So she alleges that she did give Brad an opportunity to buy her out of the chateau, the winery that they own, but he wanted an NDA. Do you think it was because he did not want these allegations to be made public?
Probably. And I think Brad and Angelina made a huge mistake. When you get divorced, you want to walk away entirely. The last thing you want is to have a business or a property with your ex because bad things like this can happen. Normally, the parties can't agree. The property will be auctioned. The proceeds will be split. or one party will buy the other out. That's what should have happened. And we would have avoided this entire mess altogether.
Yeah. I mean, how does this help her case in the Miraval case? Does it, or does who is, coming out on top in your opinion?
It's not really going to affect the case, because really it's a case about, did Brad and Angelina agree not to sell the property to third parties? Because ultimately, if you're a spouse, you're a business partner, you can sell your share of a property, you can sell your share of a business. That's the general rule. Now, of course, Brad is saying that they had a verbal agreement or a handwritten agreement where Angelina agreed not to do that. And these allegations, even though they dirty Brad Pitt up, and certainly it's going to make him look bad in the press, doesn't really affect the facts and law that apply to the Chateau case.
Right. So, and then speaking of the children, how does this affect them? Can they be called into this trial as well? Because I believe that they were called in the custody trial, if I'm correct.
It can absolutely affect them. I mean, they're witnesses. Now these allegations are being made directly involving them, right? You're talking about striking, you're talking about choking. Angelina said that Brad even poured beer and wine on them. So there's a lot going on. They may be called as witnesses in a very sort of nasty civil litigation between their mom and dad.
Yeah. Oof. This is really ugly. You would think that 6 years later, maybe we'd get to some resolution, but it doesn't seem like there is one in sight.
No, I don't think so. And if this goes forward and we get a trial, this could be Johnny Depp and Amber Heard part 2. Everything is going to come out.
Do you foresee this going to trial, you think, since they can't come to any sort of agreement?
Well, hopefully they learn like the other famous Hollywood couple, because when you're getting a divorce, you want to resolve it privately, because ultimately when you're bringing your kids into it and these types of allegations, but it may be too late. Once you throw that first punch, Brad may have to defend himself, and he may have to do so in the court. Not only just the courtroom, but the court of public opinion, like Johnny Depp did.
Ugh, messy. Well, speaking of messy situations, it seems like things are getting messy between Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen. Sources tell Us Weekly that they both have hired divorce lawyers. And according to an insider, the pair are still living apart and have been at odds with each other since he returned to the NFL. There's been a lot of speculation that she was not too happy about it. In other split news, Tiffany and Corey Hardrick, they called it quits on their marriage after 14 years together. She said, "I have always been honest with my fans, and today is no different. I wanted to share that Corey and I have decided to go our separate ways. These decisions are never easy and not without sadness." She said that they will remain a friendship to co-parent their beautiful children. Now, she didn't specify a date of separation, but requested joint physical and legal custody of their children. And she also asked a judge to terminate spousal support and noted that the former couple have a prenup in place. So let's start with Tom and Gisele. If they are hiring lawyers, I mean, do you expect a split statement sometime soon?
Oh, I think so. I mean, that's usually the first step. And once they lawyer up, we're talking about divorce proceedings. So usually, at least in California, more than 70% of the time, it's actually the woman who initiates the divorce proceedings. So this is consistent with what we typically see here. Yeah.
Like you said, we're hearing that Gisele hired first. I mean, could she possibly be doing this as a scare tactic to him? I mean, obviously, we don't know the inner workings of their relationship, but just speculation. Do you ever see that happening?
Yeah, sometimes, a lawyer is hired to kind of leverage the spouse and the parties can reconcile. But most of the time, Christina, once the parties lawyer up, they're going to dig in and we're going to look at a divorce. The question is it going to be an amicable one or a nasty one?
Yeah. Is it interesting to you that so much information is being made public in their situation, even though they both really haven't spoken out about it? But it's interesting that these stories are getting leaked to the press a little bit.
Well, these are public figures. And again, we talked about Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, when Amber was allegedly leaking things to TMZ. So sometimes it's a legal case that you care about. But often, if you're a public figure, you really care about your perception in the media. And for instance, recently, Alec Baldwin, he settled his lawsuit related to Rust. And even though it was a legal settlement, there were a lot of public statements that were made because he cares about his reputation. He cares about acting again. And whether it's Johnny Depp, whether it's someone like Tom Brady, he's going to have a life after football, whether it's the broadcast booth or elsewhere. So he is going to care about his reputation because that's something that's going to last years, if not decades.
Oh, definitely. And there's a lot of money on the line there. I'm sure they had a prenup, but a lot of money on the line in that one. And speaking of money, I mean, it seems like this Tiffany divorce, it seems like it may be easy since the prenup is in place, but interesting that she is asking to terminate spousal support.
So here's the thing with prenups. Prenups, can be effective when you're dealing with alimony, when you're dealing with spousal support, but you can't get a prenup for child support. So even if you have a prenup, we saw with Dr. Dre and his ex-wife, they can be litigated. There's ways to get around. It's not easy, but you can. But when you have kids, you can't waive your right to spousal support. So even if the prenup says X with regard to alimony, the parents can leverage the children to get money for that child support. So it's not always clean when you're dealing with a prenup situation when you have kids.
Got it. So, I mean, if he wanted to, he could go after her for, living the lifestyle that he's been accustomed to living.
Of course. Yeah. When you have kids, you can leverage that child support to get a payday from your ex.
Yes. Okay. Well, Kim Kardashian is $1 million not richer. She agreed to give the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission amid over $1 million amid an ongoing investigation regarding her promotion of cryptocurrency. So this organization announced in a statement that she was charged for touting on social media a crypto asset security offered and sold by Max without disclosing the payment that she received for the promotion. She agreed to settle the charges, pay $1.26 million in penalties, disgorgement, and interest, and cooperate with the commission's ongoing investigation. So according to the SEC, she failed to disclose that she was paid $250,000 to publish a post on her Instagram account about Emax tokens. Interesting that, because, we see so many ads on Instagram from celebrities, and we never really see how much they're being paid for this. So why is this one different?
Well, when you're dealing with securities, you're held to a higher standard. So obviously Kim K put #ad, but that's not enough under the Securities Act of 1933. So we're talking about a very old law, specifically Section 17B. If you are promoting a security, and the question is cryptocurrency or crypto asset a security? The SEC says it is. You have to provide more details, Christina. You can't just say ad. You got to say who's paying you, when they're paying you, and how much you're being paid. And she was paid $250,000. So not only did she have to pay that as a fine, she had to pay interest and a $1 million fine on top of it. So Kim K's lawyers should know better. When you're dealing with stocks, when you're dealing with bonds, when you're dealing with anything that's considered a security, you have to provide more information than that.
Yeah. So it is similar to promoting a stock. And then obviously there's different rules and penalties there.
Exactly. That's the issue here. Crypto, at least in this particular case, is considered a security. So it's subject to those increased disclosure requirements under the Act.
Were you surprised that the fine was so hefty?
No, because they're trying to make an example out of Kim K and everyone else who's promoting crypto and crypto assets, currencies. And, they're going to send a message. And even though it may seem like a lot to us, that 1.26 million is chump change. That's walking around money for Kim K. So she probably wants to just pay it and then not deal with a big SEC lawsuit that could turn even nastier for her.
Definitely. I'm sure she's not going to be making that mistake again. Neama, thank you so much for running down all things legal with me each and every week. I really appreciate your insight and expertise.
Thanks, Christina. See you next week.
For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.